Primary ignition.
This is Star Wars.
Look out!
Core. World. News.
You may fire when ready.
From the bright center of the galaxy, I'm Grex Kondak, and you're listening to Core World News, your all-night news service providing in-depth coverage of all the latest stories from every sector of the galaxy. Welcome to our spoiler-filled review of Star Wars Jedi Survivor. We now go live to your host Ben, Grant Adam, as they navigate the Koboh Abyss to decode the mysteries of Tanalorr and unlock the secrets of Jedi Survivor.
All right, thank you very much, Grex Kondak. Here we are again for another live video and audio podcast, about the galaxy far, far away. Thanks so much for listening to us again. I feel like it's been a month since I talked to you guys.
Right?
It feels like a long time to me.
I'm so happy to grab some seat and talk about this game. You guys
grab some seat, bro. I am too, man. I am talking about so we were like, we're gonna cover comics, and we are so backlogged with Star Wars plural that we need to cover. It's kind of a shame, but it's kind of great too. I can't wait. We were gonna cover some comics. We are now decided to cover comics after on the Marvel Unlimited timeline. For those of you digital collectors, the regular Marvel app has gone away, and only Marvel Unlimited remains. And so if you're a subscriber, you can read all these things under your subscription, everything we're going to cover on that timeline, if that makes any sense, which is a little delayed from the real releases. So that got booted because I don't know if you remember last week, if you were listening, we were like, it's going to be months until we finish this story or this game. And we all finished this story this week, in a week.
Well, see,
turns
what I do
out
would
Adam
happen,
and Ben are a dyad in the force. And
we were like,
the game
it was
in the same day, in the same hour.
It was really funny. So kind of background is that this is like the busiest time of the year for me academically or for my job. And then Grant had to just text I rolled credits. And I was just like, what? And then I got this weird sense of pressure to be like, I gotta finish it. And then Ben and I and Grant were texting.
You guys are still in that jump puzzle? Oh, I did that.
I know. And
hours ago.
And then Ben and I would text with everyone, but it would be kind of trying to be parse apart where the person's at as to not spoil anything. And there was at one point I'm like, Ben, you're literally 5 minutes behind me. And I think you and I were 5 minutes
I was a scene
ahead of
you.
each other. The entire back
Ben's
half of that game.
Bo just said back to breath. Have you gotten there yet?
Did you get to back to breath? Bode's back to breath?
Yeah. So again,
that's a real line, actually. I thought you made that up, but wait, no, that he actually said that.
He does.
Okay.
He calls him back to breath, which is awesome. So just to reiterate, spoilers. So if you are playing this game and you don't want anything spoiled, save this and come back to this episode. Yeah. If you don't care, listen along.
Yeah, no. So we haven't done the side missions yet. We are Jedi Survivor, the game, the only
Some
one
of
game
us.
that's going on right now.
Adam's done
Some of us.
Yes,
have done some
Adam's
of the
already
side
put
games.
some work in. I am so jealous. I thought I was going to have these late weeks and I was just going to be me and video games, but no. It's like people's have mothers and they have to be celebrated.
Right.
Work or whatever.
Coruscant's 100% explored.
Oh, you're a hundo on
me,
Coruscant? Very
Hundo,
good.
I've gotten everything out of Coruscant. I won't look back.
Yeah, I guess we'll start with where we're at right now. So we've all finished the story mode, and I haven't gotten much further past that. I'm now on Jeddah, and I'm working through just whatever tickles my fancy. Where are you at, Grant?
Yeah, I'm just going back and doing the bounty missions and just doing all the side sort of exploration stuff that I didn't do, taming beasts, creatures that I hadn't tamed, and doing some fun stuff, doing some of the force tears that I never found.
Yeah.
Going and finding those. There's some cool ones on Coruscant. Coruscant was actually something I didn't do until now, late game.
Yeah.
Same.
Or actually after beating the game, I'm now going back and doing a lot of
Are you looking at trophies and going from there and doing stuff? Because the
No,
trophies
I'll
are
probably-
wild again in this game. Just
not
like
really.
Fallen Order was.
Yeah. No, similarly, my plan is to 100% everything, get all of the stuff, and then I will start on the trophies. Like once I've done, because I happen to accidentally close trophies while I'm doing the other stuff.
Right.
So,
anyways, yeah.
Right. Yeah.
And then it's sort of like, well, where are you? And it's like, oh, did you kick a ferric 7 times? What, you know, and the ferric kicked you 14, and you're like, wait, what?
Wow.
That was like one of the like trophies on the last game. It was like, like kick.
Yeah, I remember one of those. It was like force push something off of something. I remember that one. It was like, it's weird.
It was like stop a bullet, and then force pull in a stormtrooper, and then let that bullet hit the stormtrooper. Was one of them. And it was like, okay, all right, let's go. But yeah, I'm mostly I want to collect all the lightsabers. So that's I know they're pretty much all on Jedha. So that's why I'm excited to be there and start cleaning up that stuff. So spoiler wall is up. Y'all, if you're still listening, finish the game, come on back, or I guess just listen for the story. Because, like I said before, this is just a crucial story as any of the live action series we've seen.
Yeah. No,
waiting for argument from Grant, and I think I'm clear.
No, I think it's incredible. Honestly, I think it's an incredible story. And when we talked about it being as good as a film last week, I was sort of going. I was playing devil's
live
advocate.
action TV. I don't know about film.
Like these actors aren't like A-list actors. They're sort of like game actors. And it's no. There are some incredible acting power. Obviously, I think Deborah Wilson is like.
Yes, I will also stand for.
Like, it's honestly like the best performance I've seen in a game.
I will also stand for. Is it Cameron Monaghan? Is that whoever plays Cal Kestis?
Yeah,
I watched Cam Monaghan. I watched every single season of the American version of Shameless. And he's one of the kids on that show. So I actually watched him grow up from like being a 12-year-old to like a 20-something-year-old. Yeah. On TV. And like his acting chops are pretty amazing in that show. Like if you watch him in the early seasons, he's like just a 12-year-old dealing with stuff. And then to watch him deal with like, he played a person, a person who identifies as queer like he does in real life, and then also dealing with mental illness in that show is like he had like some of the heaviest lifting in that show.
Wow.
Yeah, he's good, but there is some sort of like throwaway lines.
Oh yeah. I'm not like talking about production value. Like it's still a video game. There's limitations. I'm talking about like story, like canon story that's been created as far as its relevance in the galaxy. They're important storylines, and I think they're on par with the live video stuff that we see, or the on-demand video.
I think Tracy Ifiakor, I think her performance as Centauri Kree, I think that performance is like
very good,
outstanding. I think she's one of the best Jedi I've seen. Like, in a game or in almost like a live action situation.
Are we going to get Kree in Phase 3?
Essentially, the performance is just transferred over mocap. Like it's pretty much a live action performance, and it's just outstanding. I think as a High Republic Jedi, so I think she deserves a shout out. I think that performance is incredible. I think there are some great performances in the game. Again, Daniel Roebuck as Grease. Like Grease is just every line is like it's just so comforting, and it just feels like a true mentor figure for Cal, and like just a father figure almost. Like it's very cool. Like he's just a very cool character to interact.
Yeah, his character evolved. He's different. His hair is super long, and he's just he's got his old man on like hardcore. He's just like, no, I'm not trying to be that guy anymore. And even though, so again, timeline, not really sure.
Yeah.
It's supposed to be a year, right, or 2 years since the last game, but it like feels like 9. I mean, I feel my guess is like 5 actually, but yeah.
But performance-wise, I mean, like I do stand corrected. I think this game, this one especially, Fallen Order felt a little theatrical, a little set piecey at times. Mm-hmm. This actually felt like almost story-driven. Almost everything you do is to get something, to go somewhere, to get into a conflict with the next person, and it just felt
But you do have limitations, right? As Ben was mentioning, and part of like I'll give you an example of a limitation of game that's really hard to get by is like, so again, spoiler alerts, and we'll just stop saying that for now. But you get the romantic relationship right between Marin and Cal, And that felt like it's hard for me to separate battle scars out right from this. But like I was trying to think of like I was just playing this game. Like they play it out, but again, it's just like you get like 3 scenes, and because they're like 3-minute scenes, because you can't do a cutscene that's all that long in video games, it just felt kind of like slapdash at times for me. I mean, I kind of pumped my fist the first time I kissed.
Feel like there was,
be honest.
I was at first I was like, Marin seems a little bit different from the book, but I think it just got so much internal dialogue in the book that we really, it was almost her book, which was awesome.
Yes.
And I guess she has a lot of development in the book, whereas everyone else is sort of like just, stating their motivations. They do, I think the book and the game are in conversation after having completed the game, just given like you see that Grease has his arm's like the robotic arm is there. Cal even goes, Marin did meet friends like in the galaxy. I think sort of nodding to the Stormtrooper character in the book. Like there are like nods to the book. It's just
there are. Yeah.
I wish Marin was playable. That's my whole gripe. I
know.
think the character's so neat that I almost wish I could see that skill tree basically for the wild magic of Dathomir.
I know.
Sort of
she's already OP now.
Right?
She's like an Infamous character. She like walked out of a Sucker Punch game. She's like basically an Infamous character. Like
well, she's literally crazy. Infamous, right? She's the Desert Ghost.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah, Neon or something from Infamous 2 or 3 or whatever.
So I just did my homework really quick off air. I feel like it's important to get these timelines right, and they actually do make sense. So,
this is 9.
This is not. 9? So this game is 9 years before the Battle of Yavin. The book takes place between 11 and 10 years before Battle of Yavin, so just a couple of years ago. And the first game is 14 years before the Battle of Yavin. So it's 6 years between the last game and this game.
Yeah, it feels like a super long time. Recently. When you at the beginning of the game when he's watching the hololog, you're like, there's been some years since he saw Grease and Seer.
Which
but really it was only like 2 years. And it's like and
like
Grease grew a full like white mane of hair and all right.
Yeah,
I do want to argue that 16 BBY or 17 BBY to like 3 BBY is like one of the coolest timelines to explore.
It really
story-wise. It's such a great area of the timeline. It's just it's terrifying. Like the Empire's everywhere. It's
classic Star Wars, really, right? Because you got the Empire. It's like lawless. There's heroes on both sides, and I don't really mean that.
Yeah,
there's heroes on one side, but I mean they're running around. It's a lawless place. It's really kind of, as a fan, I think a great time, and I think it's also funny talking about like mind meld. The last couple of nights I rewatched Obi-Wan, and Grant rewatched Andor, which also pretty much followed this timeline as well.
Right.
Just to do it, and because I just felt like, first of all, I adore Obi-Wan, but Kenobi, he's my fave, but it also falls in this timeline, so I'm just like, I just wanted to be in that vibe, and it was a lot of fun.
There's no symbols of hope yet, right? Like there's no rebel.
Yeah, the only hope you have is the one you make.
Yeah. But no, playing this game really, I was jonesing to rewatch Obi-Wan as well. It felt like a very related to it in a lot of ways, and I didn't because I don't have time. But I've been really, of all the recent shows, that's the one I've really been wanting to rewatch again the most. I think out of all the Disney Plus shows for some reason. I don't know why that is.
Do you guys want to? Do you guys want to sort of hive mind this synopsis and talk about the story up front, just to get that out of the way, because I know we've been sort of pitter-pattering along here with various highlights for ourselves, but just to give this a backbone. So if you haven't seen it, I don't know why, or played it, I assume you don't want to play it and whatever, but just to like, I don't know, no one wrote a synopsis,
right? A broad story, basically.
Yeah, like what's the story that they told here? That's what I think we're here to talk about first and foremost, and then of course there's a million other divergent things to talk about within the game. But I mean, you've got Cal. He stumbles into the High Republic, right, and he discovers Centauri Kree and her mission with Dagan Gera to try and use this planet Tanalorr, named by Dagan Gera, within this nebula as a sort of protected like a protected force school, right? Like a
temple and force school. Yeah.
And this was like Dagan Gera's passion project and Centauri Kree's. And so Cal stumbles across this, he sort of unlocks certain things along the way. Companion Bode. I don't know how to do this because there's so much. But I mean, and essentially, he's jumping back and forth. We find that Seer has found her old mentor, master, Cordova, and they've set up on Jedha. And they have a mission of their own. They're rebuilding the archives.
Yeah. Super cool.
And like,
well, Cal meets Bode doing like partisan work, basically.
Yes.
On Coruscant. Yeah. And they allude to previous missions that they've been on and things like that. He's kind of a new character who's joined up with Cal.
Yeah.
Since the last game, totally new character.
Yeah.
Right off the bat, and Cal's like, let me bring him to my, old master's secret hideout, super secret hideout.
Yeah, I mean
that's
worth like not skipping over, right? Like he was running with a crew that was essentially associated with Saw Gerrera, so he's pretty much a partisan. And in that first mission, his whole crew dies, except for the new guy he brought in, this dude Bode.
Mm-hmm. Suspicious, maybe.
Yeah.
Anyway,
it was a good rug pull for me, honestly. But let's keep going.
Yeah,
so
we'll get there.
They discover Centauri Kree, Dagan Gera.
On Koboh, because he
Tanalorr.
just because he wrecked the Mantis and wanted Grease's help, and Grease was on Koboh.
Yeah. So I mean, that's the other thing to mention is like our gang is completely separated, right? Because they start out like, just to kind of stop for a second. That first mission's great because when it starts, everyone's it's on Coruscant, and Cal is Cal, but he's being led by Coruscanti guards.
Yeah.
And so as I'm playing this, I'm like, oh, this is the gang in fake outfits, right? So I think that's kind of what they're going for, is you're expecting them to take off their helmets and for it to be Merrin and Seer. And so it's a great rug pull of just like, oh no, he's just with this other gang and he has not been in contact with the gang we know for a while. They've gone all their different ways.
Yeah. And so, so then, he's like, I need Grease. And then, and when they discover this, they're like, I need Seer to help with this High Republic stuff. She would know. She's on Jedha, which is amazing. Goes to Jedha, discovers, Cordova, discovers Merrin is actually there too. A lot of real heartfelt conversations between the two of them. And then they start to unravel this mystery of Tanalorr. And meanwhile, they're being pursued by the Bedlam Raiders, being led by Ravis, who is a Giri, I believe. Gendai, thank you.
Gendai,
which is the same species as Dirge, if you're a fan of the Tartakovsky
Jedi
thing. So he's like a tentacle monster stuffed in a like clone trooper outfit. But he's fascinating as far as a henchman, and he's been a lifelong servant of Dagan Gera, as we learn, because Dagan Gera bested him in combat.
Yeah, and just to jump in there is that we along this researching Tanalorr, we find Dagan Gera.
Dagan Gera?
Dagan Gera. That just scrambled my brain. I'm like, now I don't remember it.
Yeah. No, right? Now I've completely shorted out my entire brain. Dagan Gera's alive. Like he's survived since the High Republic in a Bacta tank, and so comes out immediately bleeds his crystal.
Right.
Wait, after we surmise the story, can we go back and do best scenes though? Because I have like
yes. That sounds good.
Literally the greatest moments, and like if we can get into that, but let's do broad. Let's keep going with the broad stuff.
Yeah, as quickly as we can get through
the Bedlam Raiders.
Yeah. But so that's it. So the Bedlam Raiders, we should talk more about them later, because they look very similar to some foes we're reading about these days. Credit to Grant for tipping me off on that. And then they're being led by Dagan Gera. Dagan Gera has been essentially resurrected by Cal, and now they've got a whole mess of problems because he's trying to get to this planet. Meanwhile, of course, our team is looking for, if you've read or listened to our podcast about battle scars, all they want is a safe space to like hide. Right. Like they just like, can we just like live like human beings and not be hunted?
That is the theme of the game in a lot of ways.
In the book,
a search for home. Basically.
Yeah. And that's the plan, right? Is that we can hide from the Empire here and rebuild the Order.
Which is the plan until Cal meets up with Seer and discovers sort of a higher purpose. She is working on the Hidden Path, which is an amazing reveal and it links in the events of Obi-Wan Kenobi. So that's kind of why I wanted to get in there. There is this essentially underground railroad for Force sensitives that's happening in the galaxy, and they're like, what better place for them to arrive to than like an impenetrable planet, like a planet protected by a nebula. A planet that doesn't really exist. So that would be, that already has a thing there. So that becomes the main, focus. You're fighting your way through a shattered moon base. You're activating all of these force stations that do a thing.
Right. Then you get into the most video gamey part of the game. You're looking for the MacGuffins. You're looking for the
activated the relay.
Yeah, the relay.
Yeah, who activated
it was Ravis.
You're looking for the compasses. Like, it's just, which is fun when you're playing it. But in terms of like storytelling, not a lot going on for that middle third of the story.
Right. Yeah, the array.
And the compass is the major MacGuffin, right? Because you have to be able to actually get to this planet, and they haven't quite figured that out yet. Yeah. And you defeat Ravis, you defeat Dagan Gera, and then
which is pause for there, because which is fascinating, right? Because as you're playing the game, you are led to believe as playing video games in the past that Ravis is the henchman, is the mini boss before your big boss, and then you beat the big boss, and you're like, wait, there's still more going. Game. Yeah. So what's going to happen?
Dun,
right?
dun,
And that's
dun.
And that's what leads to the next part, kind of the last act of this thing, where you start reconnecting or spending more time with Bode, who we know from the beginning, as Bode and Cal get closer and closer, Bode starts telling his backstory about having a daughter, right? Kata. And you hear about this. And so he starts talking about, well, no, we don't need to use Tanalorr for the path. Like, we just need to go there to be safe. Like, we need to be safe. Like, we need to go there and shut it down. I can get my daughter back. We can go there and live and be free.
Right. Yeah. And I don't understand why both things can't be true. And
nor do I.
And they ultimately nod to that later. But too late.
Yeah, he gets like more than a second chance. It's kind of upsetting. You're like, what is going on?
He gets like a chance.
Just join up. Like, what is happening?
So essentially, when push comes to shove, it turns out that once Bode finds out where this last thing is, it turns out he is on the side of himself and is himself a fallen Jedi, right? A dark Jedi. And
wait, can we talk about that turn though for like a second?
Let's hold for a second about the fallen Jedi thing, about the fallen Jedi thing, because like the game actually sets it up perfectly, because you get two turns. You get the immediate turn where which I saw that one coming quite a ways away, because the second he says he has a daughter, I'm like, well, he's corrupted, he's corruptible, he's totally working his own angle.
Says a man with a daughter. Yep.
Right. I'm like, I would totally sell out all of you for the Empire. Sorry, 100%. You guys are gone. So like at that, I'm just sitting there going, okay, so waiting for the rug pull. The rug pull happens, but the rug pull is amazing in a bad way, where he's literally takes the key or the compass out of Cordova's hands and smokes him, just kills him, just strays up Cordova. Which is just,
we hardly knew Cordova.
And then you have a giant chase. So then you just think that's the turn, right? So you're going to be chasing him down. You chase him down, you confront him, and then he force pushes you, which is an amazing moment in the game where you get hit by the force push. And I didn't see it coming. I don't know if either you did. I had no idea he was going to be force sensitive or be a fallen Jedi.
Yes, I did.
That's the moment where I was like, oh man. Yeah. Like it really, that threw
ignites a red lightsaber and you're like, okay.
Well, that is Dagan Gera's lightsaber that he picked up.
Oh, really?
After you take out Dagan Gera.
I thought he left it with his body.
How far along in his training, we don't know, because he also has lines throughout the game where he's like, in this galaxy, you have to use whatever tools are available to survive. And I'm like, is this guy just using the light? Like, is he did he have to flee the order? But like he maybe he's not super proficient with the lightsaber, therefore he didn't have one, or whatever.
Do you see him snatch the lightsaber, or how'd you put that together? Because I thought I thought Cal left the lightsaber on Gera's body when he left his body.
At the end of the game, if you go back to where you fought Dagan Gera that final time, there's a sense echo there where you can hear.
So
Bode.
So Ben,
discover the lightsaber, pick it up.
He's like,
about
yoink.
It.
Yeah. So one of the things that happens, so you can close off all the Force sense echoes, but I don't know if you've come across this. You come across all of Bode's Force echoes throughout the game as he's plotting against you. So like you go back to Jedha, and there's a moment where you see him thinking about this.
Now I'm finding all the Bode sense echoes. I thought they put them in after I fought that battle. Like they're like, oh, and now they're accessible.
No, they put them in after the game ends, and so you go back and you fill. Yeah,
that's what I thought.
That's when you discover that he took.
Because now I'm finding every other one I find is a Bode sense echo, telling his story from his POV.
Exactly.
Yeah, like there's one in the Pyloon Saloon.
Yep.
Okay.
And that's where you found out that that was Dagon's lightsaber.
Okay, well that's amazing to me. I need to know lightsaber everything. So thank you.
Yeah.
And so he's that, and then so you chase him down, you find him Force. He's Force sensitive. We chase him to a new planet, Nova Gano.
Well, before we do that, what we find out is that he called called down the Imperials onto Jedha.
Yeah.
Not only just the Imperials, but Lord Vader. Who has been looking for...
we get to change into play a new character, which is so awesome.
Yeah, we get to play as Seer for a while, and I really it drives me nuts. The thing I love and hate about some of these battles is that like there's no way to win it. I did really well against Vader. I'm just gonna say I had no problem with Vader, and I'm like, I lost this. How the fuck did I lose this? Oh.
I'm going to say something that might be an overstatement, but that might be the best lightsaber fight since the Disney acquisition. Like, I love the Seer versus Vader.
It was really good.
When he's like, I've come here for you, and she's like, I've been waiting, and like ignites her saber. I was like, are you kidding me? This is some of the best stuff I've ever seen.
Yeah.
That was an incredible moment. I was loving that fight.
I knew you'd love it.
Truly perilous moment. I was really feeling the dread.
That was my hardest fight. That was like God of War on Give Me God of War level. Like I had to learn his every move. I had to fight him 25 times before I beat him.
Yeah.
It was really difficult. But you got it.
I beat him on like the third or fourth try.
Oh yeah. How'd you do that? What was your technique there, Grant?
Single and jumping around and smashing down on him at the end of his.
All right. So I got him the second time I took him on, and the thing is I learned the first time is every time I got far away from him, he just
throw something at
he just brought the world down on me. Yeah. So I just stayed real close. That's all, and just like block, take a swipe, block, take a swipe. So it was just like it was a slow, real close, like just having to I don't know. That there were other ones that definitely I found a little challenging, but that one for some reason just didn't.
Wow.
Yeah, I don't know why. Because I remember he owned me, I think, in the last game. I think that last fight, I was just like, that was like a 31. That was like 30 tries, I think, before I got him.
Yeah. Once I got going, I was pretty good. I would fight him sort of straight up. He's slow. I could get like 3 hits in on him. Then I block him like 3 times and like 3 more hits. And then like dodge, jump, roll. But I like had to learn his whole thing. But anyways,
I also found with the boss fights that anytime if you lose I would heal if I lost more than a third of my health. So I wouldn't even wait till I got to red. If I lost a third, heal, like just because they could get you.
But they limited you to 4 stims on this, which is like, and if he ever catches you, that's like essentially a whole.
You're losing. All of it,
if you don't have full life, then you're gonna die.
Yeah.
Anywho,
keeping your distance from Vader, I think that was helpful.
I did like middle distance, sort of like I was never right up on him. I was always sort of far enough away. Because you had to be far enough away to escape the grab.
Yeah,
well,
I was right up on him
damage
the entire time.
I learned that my second.
The force grab, but
I was like, it doesn't hurt.
The throat grab, like where he physically grabs you when he jumps forward and physically grabs you and then chokes you out with his mechanical hands.
Yeah, the other thing, so I was right up on him, and the other thing I learned with that fight is the second he knocked me back, I would dash right at him. Like, do not give him a second. Like, you just got to get right back in close.
All right. So anyway, that's right. Bode calls down.
Now talking about
calls down hell on our heroes and Jedi in their hidden base. But we find out he has a new master. He flees to Nova Garon.
Yeah, I think that's right. That sounds right.
We're past the spoiler walls, so stakes are now ratcheted up because Seer has died. Basically.
You've lost all of the mentors have died. Yeah. Basically, you lost Seer and Cordova in like
and
5
weeks
back-to-back scenes.
Cal, it's all eyes on Bode, and they're just in pursuit now at this point.
Nova Garon. I was right. Okay.
Yep. Nova Garon.
So Cal was able to use some tracking beacon he had, or communicator that was active that Bode still had on him, which was conspicuous to Nova Garon, which is a hidden Imperial Security Bureau base on an asteroid, and he follows him there, finds Kata, and we discovered that essentially he's been an ISB, like an ISB slave, I guess is the right way to do it. Like, they're keeping his daughter alive, but also sort of hanging her above his head to make him do their work for them. And he's very good at it. He's a very good spy. Obviously, he had Cal Kestis fooled and like hid his force abilities and all that. So, good choice, I guess. But you raid the place, but you don't quite catch Kata and Bode, and they head off to Tanalorr, and he essentially makes you take down that ISB base, which you do. And while you're there, you sort of discover the dark side of the Force.
Right.
And you start using it. You start getting made to
you need to use it.
You're forced to use it. But when you do, you're a wood chipper. Like, you just go through, droids and all your foes. It's your double thumbstick ability, which mine was time slow.
It's upsetting that it forces it upon you, though. Like,
it is.
You have to go dark side.
This is what bums me out. We'll talk about it specifically a little later because I have a question. But, like, even after the game ends, you still have that time slow, and you just are a wood chipper. And I'm like, can you give me an option
to not
to use this? Yeah. Because it makes it easier, and I don't want it to be easier. And then I'm like, I'm a white hat player. I'm always a white hat player. Like, I just hate playing bad guys. And I just like, and I guess, that's the thing about being canon, right? Yeah. This is the story they want to tell, which great. Like, I don't mind it on a story level. It makes sense for him, but it's just like, I don't like it. I don't want to use it.
Look, we're going to come back to this because it's a huge issue. But so you chase him down, but in his study, you found this log that actually tells you another way if you align all the beams on the thing, which I was like, of course, what else would they be projected into space for? But okay. You line the beams on the place, there's a path, and you're able to go to Tanalorr. You and Marin go and meet up with Bode and Kata, who are hoarding this temple all to themselves. You meet Kata, she's lovely, and you decide, we don't want to make an orphan out of her, even though the orphans run the galaxy far, far away. And they give Bode chance after chance after chance. Another very difficult fight with Bode. And ultimately Bode is like slapping his daughter around as he's like, giving.
Bode nearly kills his daughter.
Yeah, he almost pulls like, I'm watching this and I'm like, am I just watching Anakin and Padme again? Like, honestly, I thought that, I'm like, I don't want to watch this. I was really upset.
Like, him really accidentally kill his daughter. Yeah, that would have been dark.
And I'm like, I know the game's not going to go there, but I'm still like, I do not like this. But storytelling makes sense.
Yeah.
If Marin didn't come through, it would have been lights out.
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah. Or he would have killed Marin, right? So you do defeat Bode, you do make an orphan of Kata, but you take her along with you. And they also choose Tanalorr.
And she is force sensitive? Question mark,
possibly. It seems
the end of the game is like Seer appears and is like, like guide her through the dark. And then it like camera tilt down to Seer's lightsaber or something.
Yeah. So also like an understanding orphan, like that's the other reason I feel like she's force sensitive. Like, she understood that she lost her father before this. Right? There's this amazing scene where she talks about he was different.
Cal and
after he lost his
comic series, Adam.
Yeah.
Ooh, that's a great call. Actually,
I would love this. Like, give me a series of this, honestly, of like a comic series or a cartoon series or like a live action. All right, so I have a question that I have to ask. That this is not meant as bragging. I just have to ask it.
Here we go.
Because I don't know.
Why are you guys so slow? Is that what you were going to ask?
No.
I had to slow down. Dagan Mara.
All right.
Final
fight. So
Yeah.
With Bode, so like when you're fighting Bode and he gets the, and you, even when you win, he gets the upper hand, and it has like given to the dark side thing where you have to press the button. Yeah. I didn't press the button because F you, I'm not giving the dark side. and I
You
died.
just waited it out.
And it said respawn. So I respawned, right?
Yeah.
So this is fight 1. So I get to that point, fight 1. Fight 2, I get to the same point, but because I don't want to watch the cutscenes again, I skip. So I skipped, assuming it's going to say given to the dark side.
But it doesn't
But it
anymore.
didn't. It skipped past that. So is it, did you guys give into the dark side? Did you hit the buttons?
Yes.
So
yeah, I mean, I don't mind.
So the question I have is the ending I got, so did you die, come back, given to the dark side? Because do you know what I'm saying? Like, I don't know if I skipped past it and like I didn't ever give into the dark side. It was really unclear to me what happened because
I don't even remember. It was like a little mini cutscene. They're like give into the because they already. I don't remember that cutscene to be honest. Because I mean, I gave into the dark side way back up on Nova Guerra. So
you do automatically. Like, you don't have an option on that side. But this one's like you have to like because like he's literally beating you to death, and the red's coming up the screen, and it's like hit the buttons, give into the dark side, give into the dark side, give into the dark side.
Oh yeah, I do remember that now. Yeah,
and I mean.
I had to do that once, but it never popped up again.
But yeah, okay. So if you do it once, probably if you skip, probably it wouldn't have done it, but it was the same ending. I just wondered if I somehow got to a secret thing where I didn't give into the dark side. Yeah, but it's so unclear because it allowed me to skip past it. Sorry, not meant as a brag. Just there's no way I could have known without other people's experiences because of what my experience was.
I think when I finally beat him, I used the dark side power twice in there over the course of it because I was just like I mean
I definitely use the time freeze and I'm definitely using the dark side anyway because it has that everything's red and you're just
but it doesn't do as much with Bode because he's also using the dark side all the time. So it's like you're a little faster but it doesn't do a whole heck of a lot.
No, you just get a couple of free hits and
basically even when you're fast he's like oh I see you and
but wild.
There's so during this fight, you eventually win, and you've watched all this, right? You watch him almost kill his daughter. You watch that not happen because Merrin steps in. Cal still, he then gets Merrin in a force choke, right?
Yeah, he almost kills,
which
Merrin.
is vicious. In that game, like I thought I heard her neck snap when I was.
I'm like, sound design is disgusting.
And I'm like, come on, you can't take everyone from me in this game. Like I just started to get really angry at the game, but doesn't. But then they get into a blaster hold off, which I'm like, awesome. Now we have quick draw in this game suddenly. Like you don't actually play it, but I'm like, me. I'm like, I love a quick draw. It's like, so we get to this point. Bode misfires.
Yeah.
Cal's drop.
Or Bode's blaster is compromised. It
compromised. It malfunctions.
Sparks.
It's like sparks. It can't.
And he knows he can't. He won't fire.
Yeah.
And at that point,
he knows he's cooked.
They try to humanize him for he tries to show some sort of.
So it's fascinating because at that moment, Cal knows that he is shooting not defenseless because the guy has the force, right? But he has the drop on him, and it is a long pause.
Yeah, it's a pause,
and then he's just like
very Red Dead,
and then Cal just does it, and then double taps him.
Yeah,
like that's the moment where I was like, whoa, like not even shoots him once, like waits till he hits the ground in front of his kid, if I'm not mistaken. Walks up and shoots him again in the chest.
I mean, dude, he was killing the one person that he's attached to in the galaxy.
Yeah. So I don't know how I feel about it. And I don't even mean that in I don't know how I feel about it. It was like, I don't know how I feel about that. I literally am like, I think I get it. Like, I think he did the right thing. I think I would do the same thing. But it's so odd to see a Jedi.
Yeah. I mean,
put someone down, basically.
I thought they did a nice job walking you through it because it's like you have a very intentional conversation with him and Merrin, and they're like, he's super dangerous. He's already double crossed them. But they're like, think about the kid. He's, that kid is just like us. If we, she'll be just like us, orphaned.
Yeah.
And, and then he goes through that fight, they finally up the offer to be like, listen, you can stay on the path and be with the people on the path here with your daughter alive. If you just hand over the compass and let us also make this for the path, make this for the greater good.
Yeah, he offers him complete redemption, complete forgiveness and redemption. Basically, like you're all forgiven. You can come with us. So I'm like, that's the moment too where I'm like, I think at that point, you can't. And it's hard, right? But I had the same thought of just like he did all of this and he gave him every opportunity. And you have to assume after watching all this that if you take your blaster off him, he's just gonna force choke someone else to death or do something.
I think the game. I think he in trying to hide him as the sort of turncoat, he's a background player most of the time.
Yeah.
But there are moments wherein, like the senator at the beginning of the game is like, I did what I had to get the Utapauans like where we need to be, like with the Empire, like, and like it could like cut away or focus on him for like a second during that moment, give us some sort of cerebral like Taxi Driver with Bode for like 1 second during that moment, and like when they talk about Tanalorr and they talk about being away from the Empire, giving us like a tiny cutaway of him for that like might build this sort of like what turns out at the end of the game to be this like severe paranoia of the Empire, because he yells at Cal and he's like, what will you do when the Empire comes? Like, what are you going to do when they come?
Okay, will you protect
when they come
her?
To Tanalorr? What are you going to do? And then I was just like, well, look at the evidence. I mean, he's been wiping out the Empire like base after base. I'm pretty sure he's your best bet at fighting the Empire. Like good, like choose his side. I don't know what's the delay here.
No, it's true, and I think like there's two things that I kind of love. I agree. I think again, maybe shortcomings of video game storytelling, right?
Well, just like maybe do a little bit more cerebral work with the
Bode needed a little.
The character's going to do the giant betrayal like early, and then use it like pull it out of focus basically, and then bring it back into focus.
So
like
every medium comes with certain preconceived expectations and understanding, like shorthand basically, right? And so we've all been playing video games for so long, and it's evolving. It's an evolving storytelling technique. But I think you're right, Grant. I think because Bode is treated as this like ancillary character for so long that they could have done a little more to pepper it through, but it just doesn't. I think you just don't feel it because it's a game. But there's two things I do love about Cal with Bode at the end there, which made me feel good. About Cal's decision is one, when I can't remember the exact exchange, but Bo's like, "Do you promise me that you will do everything you can to protect her?" I feel like Cal's just like internally going, "Yes," like, and that was his there's like this weird almost back and forth between them of just like, I think Bode knew he wasn't gonna make it, need to be put down, like he just knew he was just too corrupted. The other thing is that he gets a Jedi funeral,
which is more than he
deserves, I thought was he more than he deserves, but still a beautiful moment, right? Like that like I think it's one of those things of just like it's a weird game, right? Because it's a weird story, because as we've talked about, please, in whatever episode 10 or whatever the new Rey story is going to be, can we please have a conversation about attachment? Because this game is centering around attachment, because Bode's fall is because of attachment, and yet Cal is attached to Merrin. Like, it's just, is attachment good? Is it bad? Does it depend? Like, we need more of the storytelling about I thought attachment.
I thought this game was great in terms of story.
Yeah.
Daring. It had stakes, big swings. Characters died like left and right. It was awesome. Like, it was just a great Star Wars adventure in terms of being perilous and having high stakes.
They figured out storytelling. This is the Empire Strikes Back of this trilogy, because there's going to be a third game, 100%, and it's going to be their Return of the Jedi. It's super dark.
Yeah, it's so dark. I mean, it's literally dark. Like, it's dark side. I mean, I was really blown away by how much dark side they brought into this with Cal, with your main character, and like now it's like, I guess he's sort of doing the hero's journey. He's wrestling with that darkness within, as all of our other major characters have done. You know, Sarah talked about it in the first installment in Fallen Order with her own personal journey. But, you know, something I noticed is Seer was defeated by Vader because she gave into the dark side at the end. Instead of like sort of like she had him worn down to like wheezes and nothing and being on fire. And instead of like sort of taking her time and like finishing the job the right way, she just tried like literally the Sheev Palpatine's jump stab move. And he was ready for it, and by doing that, he countered it and killed her. But that's my argument, is that like moment. You know, she gave into the dark side in that last moment, and that was her downfall, or at least my head.
The way he's holding her forearm in that, and kind of holding her close to make sure he has like a confirmed Saber kill is so dark.
Yeah, he like glances down to make sure that Saber's not through his torso. Like her saber is, and then like and he's got her arm, and he's like, "Oh, you're
that
done."
Moment, I cried after that too. When Seer died, I wept, and I don't like. I guess Last of Us maybe choked me up a couple
Last
times.
Enough got
Joel
me,
stuff,
but that's like the last one. Yeah.
Joel and Ellie stuff.
R.I.P. Seer. Yeah. Bo definitely doesn't deserve a pyre next to hers.
But do you know? I mean, we'll talk about favorite scenes. We'll talk about that in a moment.
Yeah,
I'll talk about what got me choked up. But the thing I'm thinking about is, so we now clearly are dealing with Cal's fight with the darkness, right? Like I think that's story 3, which is what it is, right? Because that's the arc, right? He has to overcome it. I'm assuming he's going to overcome it. Maybe he won't, but that would be not a fun story to tell if that's the end of like 3 games you've played. But hey, you can do it.
He falls to the dark side at the end.
Maybe the end. He's an Inquisitor. I don't know, or someone puts him down, or Katya has to put him down. I don't know. But the thing about this is like what they've done about this game, which I love, which we talked about, is that they're not resetting your power structure at the end of every game, right? Which is smart storytelling, but it's also challenging from game development because, like, how do you keep doing this without getting this weirdly overpowered place? Which I will argue this game gets a little OP'd at times. That kind of like, whoa, what universe are we in here? But my thought is now, if you're going to start building out trees in the next game, those are dark side trees.
They could be. It would be exactly the thing that I don't want.
I know. You're going to get the Force Unleashed
what if
territory.
he does take Kata as his Padawan, and it's like Jedi Padawan?
That's
and like it's this rebirth of like the light almost in a lot of ways. And Cal's the master character, and
is that what
the sidekick is Kata
game?
running around?
Yeah,
and it's God of War basically.
Exactly. That's what I'm thinking.
Oh. Yeah. Smart. I didn't even think about that. You're right. Yeah, because I haven't played it, but I'm aware of that mechanic.
Yeah. Atreus.
And she's with you the whole time, and it's you have all of her abilities.
That would be so cool. That's Last of Us too. It's this sort of mentorship.
Yeah. This game is very much borrowing a lot from Assassin's Creed Valhalla. Like the bounty hunter side quests is like taken almost directly from
what's the
Valhalla.
What's the thing in Valhalla that's like it?
You're killing off all of the orders,
the order.
All of the order, right? And it's like almost exactly the same in terms of like
the way that the
aesthetics of the
user
menu
interface
is
exactly
the same.
right.
Which I'm like, I love that. Anyway, so I was happy to see it. So you're right. I wonder if the next one they're going to ape is God of War, right? Which is great. Like, take from the best.
Yeah, definitely.
Well, that way Bode was, had used the dark side, or her father, and therefore it's going to be a struggle, to make sure that, her father's influence at the time when he was a fallen Jedi didn't affect her, even though he nearly killed her a few times, which could be very traumatic to think about.
I would love to.
So she'll struggle with the dark. And Seer says, guide her through the dark.
Guide her through the dark.
That seems to be the mandate for the next game.
Yeah.
Guide Kata through the dark.
Good call.
Guide yourself through the dark.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, I almost like, how Force Unleashed, you kind of, it wasn't really a forking path journey, but it was a forking path ending, and you could get like a good ending, or you could fall to the dark side. And I'm like, I wonder, it's like if if it's it would be really fun to have a choose your own adventure sort of Jedi game, and they head towards 2 different conclusions. With Cal, you couldn't do it with canon because this is a canon story, and it's like both parallel universes can't be true. But
I mean, there is
unless he dies in both cases, I
maybe. But there is the old Episode 3 video game. Did anyone play the original Episode 3 video game?
Yes, I did actually.
Probably did.
Yeah, you can you can
kill the Emperor
because you think you can kill the Emperor. Like, you can actually.
That
like,
was
get,
the first
like,
time they
like,
did that.
Can, yeah. So my whole thing is like,
as
what?
Anakin, you could just kill the Emperor.
Yeah, as Anakin. Yeah, it's amazing. It's just like for this game, for the next game, let us have more choice, but let us have a defined canon story playthrough, right? Meaning that like, here's the options. Here's what's canon. You choose your own adventure, but in terms of what we're going to put forward, in terms of if there's comic book or this or how it attached to the world, here's the canon one. Here's the canon playthrough. But that's kind of what I wish they would do, is just say, here's canon, do what you want, but here's what the story is. Because it's a little on rails at times, which sometimes bugs me about these games.
Yeah, I mean, I've heard that from both you and from Grant, and I mean, I thought this one was eons better than the last. It was definitely on rails.
Agreed. I love.
And
this
I'm
game,
just like I said, I'm just getting into the I'm just getting into the extracurricular, side missions now. Like the way this game is structured, if you haven't played it yet, do the story. Just do the story first, because I'm sort of a completionist, and I usually try to do it as I go, but you can't do it in this game, and it forces you to just in order to do all the side missions, you need to essentially play the whole story to unlock all the abilities to do all the side missions.
The other reason, so there's two, so here's another user game tip to build on that, is because you have to, there's certain mechanics, like certain force abilities you have to get to order to get to certain collectibles, and if you don't, you're just going to be going back through the same maps
over
a dozen
and over
times.
and over again, and that's not
the
fun.
other thing is that you don't know where things like treasures are located or force echoes, but throughout the game there are ways to unlock things that add to your map to show you exactly where those things are.
Okay. Because I found that one on Nova Guerra, but I guess there's some on other planets too.
So I have unlocked all of them. So now when I go back to the map, I know where everything other than the force tears are. But so it makes it so much. That's why I was able to get through Coruscant in a matter of an hour in 100% Coruscant. Because I'm just looking. Anyway,
that is so helpful. I'm glad you told me that.
Yeah.
Ben, did you rock the man bun for the Nova Garen section?
Yes, I did. I knew as soon as it happened, I was like, wow, this guy doesngood. He doesn't look like a Jedi at all. It's just like Toshiro Mifune in a white uniform. Oh man.
So good. It's pretty fun. That's funny. The other question I have for you guys is, so at the end of the game, you unlock New Game Plus, which obviously I have not touched. I'm just going to 100% everything. And then I'm sure that's going to be one of the trophies is beat it on New Game Plus. And I'll zip my way through that again, like I did with Ghost of Tsushima. But so one of the things that you can get is that, what's it called? It's not called Fashionista. What's the thing that you can do where basically that every time you die, it randomizes your look?
Oh, really?
Yeah. It's said it's one of these things that you can do, which I'm like, I want to attach. I don't think I can play that until I play New Game Plus, but I want that immediately because I get overwhelmed by choice. So I have rocked throughout the entire game Luke's lightsaber, the DL-44, and Luke's medal ceremony look, and Luke's hair. Did you do Luke's? I do Luke's hair from Empire, his training hair with the headband.
Oh, okay. Okay. I didn't think of that. So all right, I get it. That one was like 7 priorite shards. It was a really expensive. Shards, That's why it's expensive. Yeah. Okay, I got it.
Yeah. So I rock that through that because I will spend hours going, do I want to try this? And then I get anxious from the choice. But I want to know if I can turn that on now or if I have to wait till New Game Plus. And I haven't spent time looking at that because I'm like, I just would turn that on because every time I die, just randomize my look. I would love that.
Yeah, I'm not as I played the whole thing pretty much like Grant did, which was just like in the Jedi robes and the top knot and the full beard. And was just and it because it's a clean look. It's a clean look. And I used black on top and bottom. I don't know which one you went, but that's just.
I did the blue look.
Yeah, I guess it's dark blue.
Dark blue.
But it looks like black.
Same look
because it's tight.
And the blue pants.
Yeah. But I will change. So that's fine. But the lightsabers I really like, and I found myself sort of like, I don't really want these really decorative hilts. I'm like, just give me a gnarly hilt. And so when you finally do unlock Seer Jinda's lightsaber, that's what I'm rocking
it's
now.
A good lightsaber.
And then I did I did unlock the full. It's called Commander, and essentially you're like in ragtag clone commander armor.
Oh,
and it's really cool. So I'm rocking that right now.
All right. I think I have.
It's pretty fun outfit. But so I'm curious to see how it goes. I'm gonna end up. I want to unlock all the skill trees. I want to unlock all the lightsaber parts. And so that's gonna guide me in the beginning, and then I'll unlock everything else. But pretty exciting.
Those
fun
skill
stuff.
trees, the number of things, like the number of skill trees, like that's why I always had the XP perk attached. I always was rocking the XP because I just wanted to get. So I think by the end of the game, I had all of my force abilities and all of my survival up, and none of my lightsabers. I beat the game with 0 additions to my lightsabers.
Good for you.
Really?
Yeah, because it was all because I just
force.
It was all I was all forced. It was all.
So did you use a lot of telekinesis and mind control stuff?
Mostly telekinesis. I didn't do too much of the mind control except when I got the big beast ones, because then every time I would get to a big beast, I would just mind control that and just step back. But the telekinesis is helpful because even when you get the force like lift or pull down or slam down, even with the bosses, if you do that, it won't necessarily stagger them, but it will stop them for like a millisecond.
Yeah.
So that could be the difference between being able to get in close and get a hit in. So I would do that.
Wow,
a lot.
that's a pretty advanced
It could
technique.
interrupt, and then
I
you
like
could throw saber or something. Yeah.
I was just like, well, all this force stuff is useless, so I never used any of it. It's just that's what's frustrating. It's like, why am I so strong in the force, but you're not letting me use the force to fight any of the bosses?
The telekinesis stuff was super. That's where I felt it was like OP because I'd walk in because I do it so you lift everyone, and I'd walk in and it'd be like the like the Magna Guards, and there'd be like 4 of them, and I would just lift them all up in the air and just walk by and go doop, 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 and then just wait till they drop, and then lift them again and go doop, doop, doop.
Yeah.
Like it felt like cheating after a while.
Yeah, I mean, I think I meant the mind control one, as well.
The mind control is not great.
Yeah, I mean, it's a nice idea, but I mean, you could do it as like a mind control build and just like, and never really have to fight many people.
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, so anyways, I just feel like, so yeah, right now I don't have half of my skill trees filled, essentially, like of all the stuff you can get. And so it really feels like, even though it was a very thorough and enjoyable story, it was long and, fulfilling. I feel like I haven't done half the story, and it does, I am at like 47%. So that's what this game is. And then it just makes the sort of, now you can just be a cowboy on the dusty trail with your lightsaber and your blaster, doing what you're doing. And there's so many different ways to play. That's great. Like I just started doing blaster. I didn't do that at all. I pretty much used cross guard and single blade. And
the blaster is so good, holding triangle and then locking on to 3 different.
I'm looking forward to messing with that more. I was also all single blade and cross guard. Ben, you mentioned your 47%. Where did you? I didn't even look to see. Where did you find that percentage?
In the menus, I think.
Yeah, it's in the select menu, and I don't know. It might be just when you like log on and you start, or it might be when you're on when you're meditating. Sorry, I did happen to see it. I logged on tonight and did a like mini mission just to get in the mood.
Nice.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know. I guess I could talk about Marin a little bit. That was interesting. So this is another, like, towards the end of the thing. So we know from the book that Cal has an affinity that he can't quite qualify for Marin, and he loves her, right? And she's, I mean, we all do, right? Like, she was an amazing character in the first first game when she came in. It's like, oh my god, dude, we're just get to hang out with a Night Sister. This is amazing. And then the book, she's like the star of the book, and then now we have her here, and it's like, yes, we're all just as enamored with Marin as you are. And that, so that develops, but in the book, she's sort of like, he's not on her radar, and then in this book, but by now in the video game Survivor, I feel like she feels the same way about him. But in order for that to happen, he needed to put down those rigid rules of the order and not be beholden to abolish all attachment. And he makes that choice, and then that's what sort of brings them together at the end of the story. But I mean, that is fascinating, right? Like, I mean, we've been talking about this wrestling with attachment. I like how they're like, we're not going to tell you it, but there's going to be these little vignettes of people dealing with attachment in different ways. And you're going to sort of have to figure it out, and it's just going to be an evolving dialogue that just happens. But I thought that was interesting, and a signal, because I do hope that Rey's new Jedi Order takes another good, thorough audit of that one rule.
Same. Like, that's all I want, right? I need to know more. Any
other thoughts on Marin, you guys?
Oh, I loved Marin's dialogue in this game. I thought the romance between them was organic. I thought it was spicy immediately, and like you just felt like this was just like it's like a fun romance novel. Like, it just felt like very much like, ooh, we could just follow them into some bungalow somewhere and just have this whole romantic getaway with those two, just given like how basically how quick things are moving. And I was like, okay, things are moving quick. These characters are, that's the kind of attachment that I love seeing a Jedi get into too, because it's like Jedi doesn't have time to think about those scenes, and that's why I thought those scenes worked super, super well, because give a Jedi time for any of that stuff, they're just gonna
Hack and
ponder
slash.
whether it's the right path or not. Overthink it,
Yeah.
analyze it to death. I love her speech to him by the fire, about the fire, I guess. She kind of just creates green fire at some point, and he talks about like escaping the Tanalorr to make it home, or to get away from the fight or something like that. And she's like, the fire will just like spread and will keep spreading, like, and it will turn everything to ash. Basically, a metaphor that the Empire is like, we'll find you, and they'll turn everything to ash no matter what. It's just spreading. That fire will spread. But it also gives us warmth, and I like hanging out with you. Like that stuff was awesome. Loved some of those moments. Little OP, like it kind of breaks like my like.
I mean, when you haven't
she didn't raise the dead
in
once.
the Star Wars galaxy, but
no, she did not, and I really thought that was going to be a mechanic in this game.
Yeah.
There's moments where you're like Supermaning through the skies because of her, which I'm like, what is this game?
What are we doing?
is this going to happen in the film at some point?
I don't know. But what I'll say about Merrin, what I love is like her. If you look at her and Cal's origins, they're very similar, right? Both of their people were wiped out, right? Like just wiped out. And when we see them both in Fallen Order, they are both broken people in very different ways. And then when we see Cal in Survivor, he's still very broken and still trying to figure out what his path is. And by the end of this game, he's still kind of broken and trying to figure out what his path is.
There's sort of a tropey, wartime lovers raging against the dying of the light sort of like thing with them, where it's like, we're fighting nonstop. Like, where's the time for us? And then we've seen this sort of thing dynamic before. But it works. So it's great.
It works. It does. But it is very tropey. But you get Cal, who's still broken. You get Merrin. Merrin's hero journey is complete.
Yeah, she's fully evolved.
Like
apotheosis.
Fully, like she's achieved apotheosis, and I love that. I love that in this game is like her story. You don't even know what she's been through. Like when you meet her in this story, she's just like, yeah, no, I am the apex Night Sister at this point. Like I am not dark side. I am who I am.
Did you just do the voice a little bit there, Adam?
I might have actually accidentally slipped into the voice.
I am
I
going
don't do
to
voices.
tell these secrets to my sleeping sisters.
That's really funny. I couldn't even do it. Couldn't even do it if I wanted to, but somehow I accidentally might have done it. I'll have to listen back on that one. But yeah, I just love that she is, whatever her journey has been, she is now through it, and she's waiting for Cal to catch up through it to join her. Yeah. I think I figured out. I think my trophies are at 52%.
52%, and you've done all the bounty missions. Holy cow!
Yeah. Breaking news: my data bank's at 83%, and my tactical guide's at 94% filled out.
Oh my goodness! So you thought you unlocked everything, but it's only 94% on your tactical guide?
No, my tactical guide's 94%, but I haven't unlocked.
So how do you get to 100% on your tactical guide?
I don't know. I'm trying to look at what I have. Is like Bedlam Raiders I still have to fill out, so I must have to do some scans of a couple things. I must have missed a scan, so I have to go back and kill some people and scan them.
All right,
as a Jedi does.
Oh, flora and fauna, I'm only at 94%, so there's a couple things I'm missing.
You missed
there.
like a plant on like Nova Guerra that was like in a pot.
This is gonna be rough.
It was growing on the top of one of those like R2 droids that are rolling around.
Yeah. Well, at least I can see what category they're in, so I'm just gonna have to go and make sure. What really annoys me is I missed a bounty hunter scan, so I'm missing a bounty hunter puck. So I bought everything I could with the bounty hunters except one thing because I'm short one puck, and I got to figure out which one I didn't scan, where I killed it, and have to go back and find its body to scan it again. So that's fun. Fun game. Sorry, moving on.
Are we to best scenes yet? You guys want to go?
Do it. Best scenes, baby.
Dig into best scenes.
Yeah.
Get hype.
Why don't you start us off, Grant?
The entire Coruscant opening is magnificent.
So good.
The entire set piece of Coruscant blew me away. I gotta shout out that initial opening. I thought it was one of the strongest introductions to a game. I don't know. I just thought it was super strong. The Brackus was super strong in the last game, but the Coruscant open with the Utapauan Senator is so good.
Yeah, that was really fun. I haven't gone back yet, and they let you go back to Coruscant pretty early in the game, but I'm just like, I gotta do the thing. And also, I learned my lesson with Dathomir is a different thing. They're like, oh, you want to go? You can go to Dathomir if you want to die.
Oh man, Dathomir. Dathomir is like, I still have nightmares about Dathomir in that first game. Oh boy,
the guy's just popping out with the axes or bats. And when you go back to Coruscant, you just landed that same hangar. I was like, Really? Like we're landing in the same place that like we had to hightail it out of? Okay.
Oh, is that what happens? That's so funny.
Yeah, it's really funny. ZNA4 emerging from the High Republic vault and like seeing how Koboh's changed. I thought that was a cool scene to see, basically.
Yeah, we haven't talked about ZNA4 at all. I was
ZN's that first person POV you get, the first sort of Senseko back to her time with Santori Kree and that whole first person stuff. Yeah, it was awesome.
I loved that. That was quite like that was the first big surprise for me, and I was like, oh, this is where we're going. Like I think I mentioned it last week, but I did not expect to jump into the High Republic like that. But I thought it was really well done, and it was, for me, that was so fun. I was elated. I was like, oh, we're gonna do all this stuff, and we're gonna see people, and we're tying in the High Republic, and I love that there's like this ancient droid moving around. They don't do that enough.
No, I did not expect some of you. It was like we knew from like previous, like the previews and things like that the High Republic was going to play a role. I just did not expect it to be so central to this, because it's like the length of time it takes for game development to be able to thread that needle with things like a TV series and book series is wild. Like that ability to thread those needles together are kind of amazing when you think about product placement. Not to be like all like corporate about it, but like,
well, do you think the game just invented new characters, like almost a new timeline basically, and then the books will now take that and weave it in to their storytelling?
Yeah, because I think they weave some people. We know Oppo Rancis was mentioned by name at the end, and and I'm pretty sure there's like a Keeve Trennis in there is one of those younger Padawans, and there's some you can sort of deduce what's going on, but I think so.
There's some stuff that they show. You get a glimpse of stuff that I wouldn't be surprised is a major mechanic or sort of set piece, emergent event sort of mechanic in maybe the Ubisoft game, maybe a future video game, like High Republic era game, or a High Republic live action material. Which was we'll talk about in just a moment here, which is we'll highlight the next best scene on my list here, which is Dagan Mara's introduction. Just that him in the back, that like Cal touching the back. It's so good. Like if you go back and watch the scene work there, it's like Cal goes to touch the tank, it does the sense echo with the person in the tank, sees basically the Nile attack. This is the mechanic that I think could be featured in like a future game or something. Like you see the storm in the sky.
Of the storm
in the atmosphere and all the ships arriving, and I was like, it was super atmospheric and cinematic.
It really was.
Where I was just like, oh, I can like reading the High Republic books. You want to feel immersed, and you want to feel the terror and shock and awe of the Nile and their arrival on a planet, or their raid, or their pillaging, partiers or whatever. You want to see that and feel that, and you kind of just can't. Like
in a book,
you just can't read in the books. No. Although the authors are doing an incredible job detailing what it would be like.
But it's different.
Tempest, ships arriving out of hyperspace, explosions, like poison gas. Like you're hearing all this, like what's going on, and it sounds terrible. But the way that the game shows the Nile arrive, and then obviously it cuts out of that, or actually it doesn't cut out of the sense echo. Dagan Gera recognizes that you're watching him in the sense echo in the past, I guess, or I guess it's a play on the vision, and then he's awake in the tank and touching your hand on the glass. Like it was just such a masterfully done scene. I do think the scene almost like tastefully should have ended there and not gone into the saber bleeding and like just the quick change stuff. Like that was just a lot. It got like became a little bit theatrical and sort of.
That's the thing about, that's another weakness of the format, right? Is like, okay, so two things actually. One thing I wanted to mention that it all kind of comes to the same thing. Is you could feel like, okay, insert necessary boss fight here, right? Or it's just like everything ends in the boss fight. And I was even the end of this game, like when he was talking with Bode, as I'm like, wouldn't it be amazing if there is no boss fight at the end of this game? Right? Like I was almost like sitting there going like, come on, Bode, just do it. Just come on like
back,
don't take my hand. But I'm like, but I'm watching this going, it's a video game. So I got to fight him. Like I'm just sitting there going, I'm going to fight him. I'm waiting for Nae's lightsaber. And so there's no suspense there. In a movie, you could almost feel like there might be a suspense that you could win him back. But still, even in a movie, you have to have that. You have to have that action set piece. But like, there's probably just like, that was a moment too. I agree with you, Grant, where I was just like, just cut.
Here's a
cut
fallen
there.
Jedi
Like,
in the most like truncated way possible.
Yeah,
and I was like,
yeah.
wow, that was compressed. That was like, wow, that was like a 200 years journey.
I know, but
to
like
be a fallen Jedi, like conveniently.
Was he
for me
conscious
in this
for
game
200
right
years
now.
though, and
Thank
was
you.
just like getting angrier and angrier? Like,
right.
I mean, like that's the way I read it. Was like he knows exactly what his first moves are going to be as soon as he's released from that tank.
Because it seemed to be what his moves are going to be before he's put in that tank, right? Because like he literally was about to do it before he got his arm chopped off anyway, right? Like he had already started to fall at that moment. So it is just really put a pause in it. But it's weird when you're watching the game and like you see him not falling and then suddenly comes back and is just like, I'm going to bleed my crystal immediately. But Grant's either really intrigued with what I'm saying or we've lost him.
He did.
Oh no, he's still there. We've lost.
Yeah, your video froze, and it's just you being like just entranced. No, I think we should. I'm gonna take a turn talking so that I can have Grant look at me like that. Like, oh, Grant's so entranced.
It makes me feel so
Grant,
good.
don't you agree that shot on Jedi where you're galloping through the sandstorm on the on the Samels? I know. Yeah, I know. I can just see by your face that you think it's great. You're still frozen, buddy. Yeah.
But it's a good freeze.
It's a great freeze. As freezes go. Oh, you're back.
Oh, and he's back.
And now you're frozen in a. Oh no, here we go. Okay.
Good.
Anyways, yeah, no, I did love that Jedha scene. For some reason, it was just like really romantic, like galloping across the desert. It was like your race scene, and I don't know, the music got amazing. I just remember just getting great vibes off of that scene. You're with Marin again, and you're just like escaping through the storm, and you're looking for refuge. I don't know. I just loved. I loved it, and I mean,
it's a great.
To more or less part, when you're on a speeder race through the deserts of Jedha with Bode, that was very exciting.
I forgot about that. That's a great one.
Yeah, short-lived but great. But yeah, I just love that Jedha scene, and like, yeah, that was like one of those little beats about their relationship that I thought was really cute. And you're like just hanging out by the fire, and she just falls asleep on your shoulder, as you're hunkered down all alone with a sexy light in the cave.
That was a scene where I felt like, because it was so not abruptly cut, but it cut the next morning. And it's just one of those things with like language of movie. I'm like, so they bone, it's like I had that like really like whatever question of not like even like lascivious, but like in terms of like, are we just using like language of shortcut filmmaking to be like, but then later in the game, like, oh no, okay, they're just like they're teenagers because they both have been in weird cults forever. So like, even though they're like 30-year-olds, they're like teenagers. So they just had a romantic,
I love what they did with it because they didn't force anything. And it was just like he didn't know he wouldn't have known what to do anyway, so he just like enjoyed it and fell asleep.
Exactly. Yeah, just felt those fluttery butterflies
and woke up with one of her fingers inside him. What?
Another best scene.
We get our first real E rating.
One and Cordova reuniting. That just animation work with BD recognizing.
Yes,
Cordova.
The other moment related to that, with we're going like BD, is when after Cordova dies, BD runs to him. Cal grabs him like a puppy and shields him from an explosion. Who then is shielded by Seer. But it's that amazing moment of just like he could see he was going to run to his old master, and he just that was just an amazing. Like,
I loved that.
Oh man,
I can't believe we've gotten this far in the podcast and not talked about Bode punching.
Oh,
yeah.
did
And
he punch BD?
How much of a transgression that was?
Yes, he did.
Bode punches BD.
And Cal lets out a BT, like such a heartbreaking. Like I thought he was broken.
When did that happen? Because I'm kind of like I've flaked on it. Which battle with Bode was that?
Final battle.
The final at the end. Does he slap BD? Oh, he does. Yeah. Oh wait, no, it's not the first one because you're fighting without BD in the first one. That's why you have to lose, right? There's no chance you can beat Bode in the first battle, right? Because you technically can. You fight him, but then like ultimately
you have to like learn his moves and stuff, his tells.
Yeah. Yeah. But yeah, no, BD is like, obviously I have a puppy and like, that's exactly like what he does. And I mean, same thing. It's like, oh, there's an explosion. I'll just burn alive, but I want to make sure that BD makes it.
Yep. I have a couple that we haven't mentioned that are weirdly at the both extreme ends of the game in terms of story, like telling. The first is right at the beginning. I think I alluded to this last week, the week before, we were talking about it, and I can't remember if I don't think I spoiled it for anything, but it's on Coruscant, that whole scene that we talked about, Grant. But the moment where he confronts the Ninth Sister, which from a game standpoint, I'm like, are we just doing the same thing? Am I going to be fighting through Inquisitors through the same game? Please don't let me do this. By the way, the only Inquisitor you encounter in the entire game is at the very beginning of this thing, right? Is the Ninth Sister. But the scene where he is reminding her who she was, and literally just. This is the moment where I'm like, this is what a Jedi is. This is why Jedis have lightsabers, right? He didn't kill her out of hate. He didn't kill her of anything. He was trying to just remind her, and it was like putting a rabid dog down. That sounds horrible, but it was a moment that actually made me cry, of just this moment of like ultimate empathy and sympathy that involved decapitating it.
That death was brutal. Right? Like she
like
face plants. And like the camera shakes. I was like,
that. But it was a moment of him just saying, like, this is who you are. Remember who you were. Like, take this with you. Like, remember you were good once. Like, it was a moment of just like, oh, it really shook me, and it felt like a Jedi.
Yeah, it made me think about what was she like as a Jedi.
Yeah, right. Like you forget sometimes that they were good people. They just fell and were indoctrinated. On the other end, which is very different, but the other end is with the flight to Tanalorr. So you get this moment where Grease, everyone gets their moment of the gang where you see them become bigger and better than they were in the first game. They've kind of leveled up, right? Grease you're introduced to as somewhat broken at the beginning of this game, and then he's faking it, and clearly faking it throughout the entire game, of just like, but you could just see he's still just this broken man. Like something's happened to him, and we know he's lost his third arm, and he's realized this is no longer fun. Like he could just die at any moment, and this is not whatever, and he wants to enjoy something. And having read Battle Scars and then playing this game, I always felt bad for Grease, and I'm like, Cal, this is so selfish. Like, let the man run his bar, just leave him alone.
Yeah, you're right.
But he can't. He's the happy uncle, right? Yeah. He's the fun uncle. He can't help it. But the moment where he's flying, and he learns to fly again, was kind of this is weird. That is the moment I got the most choked up in the entire game. And I don't even love Grease that much as a character, but it was this moment of him realizing, like, I do still have it. It's still in me. Like just this moment of just learning to be a pilot again, because it's also something you don't see in Star Wars, right? You see the Jedi story, you see this, you see the hero stories, but he got the scoundrel story, right? He learned to be a scoundrel again. He learned to be like a hotshot pilot again. It was kind of just an amazing moment. Yeah, you got to swing back. Yeah.
A cool correlation that I noticed is I think Seer at one point says the Jedi have to be more than a weapon, which was like fascinating to me, given like the Clone Wars and Jedi were basically just treated as weapons by the Republic, you know.
Yeah.
And then Grease, you know, on the topic of Grease, he goes, kid, like maybe your life can matter more than just being a lightsaber. Like, you know, maybe you're more than a saber, you know. Like I was just like, it was an echo just between the two mentors to Cal about maybe not using the lightsaber so much. So I'm interested to see if he takes heed of those messages.
I doubt it.
This game.
We got one more game to go.
Yeah.
Maybe after that. I don't know, or maybe we play as Kata next game and that's it, you know, and we re-rank up and, you know.
Cal the Ravis fight is the most memeable, like, event of the game.
The Ravis fight?
I've been waiting for this for 200 years.
Yeah.
I don't know why he's Hulk Hogan to me, but he's just
he's
Jedi.
Purple Hulk Hogan.
He's very like he's Hulk Hogan when he went to was it AEW when he was like we became Hollywood Hulk Hogan. Yeah.
I love his story where he was just like essentially the Chewbacca to Dagan Gera's Han Solo, and he's just been like with him. He's like, well, you know, I owe you a life debt, and for them, their lives are so long, and you know, it was really great that Cal tried to turn him and was like, hey, well, I just defeated you, so like let's hang, like help me do this. We need allies, and he's like, nah, I guess I'll just die.
I know, but
he wants his warrior's death. Yeah. He'd rather die than have carry 2 L's around with him.
I do love that in this game. I mean, again, you get into the game mechanics, but like Cal tries to save everyone pretty much, except the 10,000 stormtroopers that I just straight up bloody murdered
without a second.
But you know, all the big, all the higher ups he tries to save, which I'm like, is that good? Yeah. Maybe save like the people who are like brainwashed. No,
they need it
they're
more.
Just like cannon fodder.
Yeah, I mean, dude,
this is where
so many times in this game where you come across sort of a meditative, peaceful trooper, just like in some remote area, just kind of enjoying themselves. And I always try and sit next to them and be like, "Hey, buddy, how you doing?" Yeah. And they're like, "Oh," and they grab their blaster, and I'm like, "Oh, you shouldn't have done that."
I really tried. Yeah. So as a person who quote unquote white hats every video game he plays, I took so much joy with force pulling a stormtrooper towards me and just
gutting them,
shoving my lightsaber directly through his chest. It is the most vicious thing I think I've ever seen in a video game, and I did it at least 200 times.
I hope
smashing down on them with the overhead like tomahawk attack is from the air is incredible.
Yeah.
And there wasn't dismemberment in the first game, right? Because you could turn it off in this game. And so the first time it happened, I'm like, whoa.
Yeah. You cut dudes in half.
That, an arm just
you Darth Maul fools.
Like,
Best scenes, more best scenes here. Just every Dagan Mara fight was thrilling and difficult and fascinating, and the character has some cool lines. Like at one point, there's the kind of a Kylo Ren riff where he's like, "The past is a chain that I must sever completely." There's stuff there's some cool lines in there.
I really love the rug pull element of this game, because I have to say I was not in love with Dagan Mara as the bad guy, because he felt finger tenty a lot to me. Does that make sense? Like I loved him, like I loved the voice acting and I love whatever, but I'm like, oh, we clearly just have this like fallen Jedi again, and he's just like, because he reminded me so much of the one that you fight on. I can never remember the character's name, but in the first game that you fight on the Night Sister planet. Why can't I think of that?
Yeah, it's like totally Merrick or something like that. Something with an M.
Merrick, right? Like I think that's right. It feels very similar. So I'm like, oh, we're fighting a fallen Jedi again. So like when I'm just like, every time I'd start to encounter him, I'm like, I like how he looks. I like everything he has to say, but it felt so much just like I was just fighting a Sith. Like I'm just fighting a fallen Jedi.
For me, his character motivations felt a little hollow, given like we don't show the horror of the Nihil attack, like the absolute terror and horror the sublime horror that he somehow witnessed and changed him. We don't see that, and we also don't see why Tanalorr is idealized in his brain. Like we don't see the glory of Tanalorr. Like you both don't see the horror and atrocities of the things that turned him, and you also don't see the dream of Tanalorr that he has. You just don't see that stuff. It just talks about. It feels like shallow. It feels shallow. It feels like just a bad guy. It just feels like generic bad guy enter here. A cool generic bad guy, but it feels like a DC universe movie bad guy. And it just feels like whatever. And then that's what I love about Bode, because like you are getting all of the background, all of the reasoning through all of these seemingly meaningless conversations. And so then to have a bad guy that you care about, it's kind of great. I feel like whoever is writing the story, there are fun parallels like Last of Us, the Santori Cree Dagan Gera parallel with the Bode and Cal betrayal, like the betrayal parallel basically of like Santori Cree cut off Dagan Gera's arm because she didn't trust him, and he didn't foresee that she was just going to lop off his arm like that. It was kind of a betrayal of friendship in a lot of ways in that moment. And I guess the same thing happened, and obviously the Bode betrayal, and that's sort of that parallel is just cool to me. I think there's a lot of really interesting parallels in the storytelling that are very inventive and fun.
That's really true. On a more like base level, I mean, the Centauri Cree Dagan Gera relationship was interesting, where she chose to like disarm him, but she didn't turn him in. She just sort of like captured him and just dealt with it by herself, but like didn't get the Jedi Council involved.
Get me a back to tank ready, I think she says. So you can just assume that went straight in there, I guess.
That's my assumption. Is like he woke up and it was just like 5 minutes later. To his brain. No, again, the storytelling in video games just it blows my mind. I was just thinking about where I came back. Like, to me, I always think of, this is going to show my age, but I just had this thought of, as listening to some podcasts, I'm like, you know what? The most advanced video game system to me always still feels like the Super Nintendo. Like
SNES.
Like SNES, because that was when I was like a certain age where I'm like, can you believe what Super Mario World looks like? Like, this is amazing. Yeah. And so, like, to go from there to now as a gamer in his, like,
32
in his
bits.
40s. I know. No, it's very true. And to play these, I'm like, I'm just playing movies now. Like, it just is wild.
Yeah. So fun.
It's a gorgeous game. Just the interiors, like the Lucre Hulk droid, that command ship, like the interiors were exactly the prequels. Like,
I know. I was looking for the
going back into that environment and walking around is incredible.
It's so true. I mean, that's the other thing I would say too, is if you're listening to this and you're not a gamer, congrats for listening to us talk about gaming for so long. But if you're still with us, like, and you're not a gamer, that's fine. Like, I completely understand it. It is worth spending your time on YouTube. Just watch the cutscenes. Yeah. Like, just watch it's like watching a movie. Like, it'll be a little disconnected because, you'll lose some stuff, but like it's well acted. It tells a story. It tells you a good Star Wars story.
Yeah. And it's going to be important carrying forward. And I mean, so I wonder, like, are we going to see Tanalorr again and something else? Is that going to be the destination of the
Tanalorr
path?
has barely been scratched, right? It's now a new one of those sort of like secret legendary plant worlds, like your Illums and your
well, aren't they?
I don't know.
Aren't they getting it ready for the path still at the end of the game? Isn't that still the plan?
I just wonder if that ultimately is where the path ends up. So this happens after Obi-Wan. So the path is going somewhere. We don't know where, right? We know they go to, like, they sort of rally point is Jabim, yeah. And, but that's a rally point, but then they go to their sort of final destination. But in Obi-Wan, that is 10 ABY, and we're at 9 ABY. So that's, they haven't discovered Tanalorr yet, but they're going somewhere. But this could end up being that thing. I think you could tell stories about the path forever.
So what's wild about this? I just had this thought, because I thought, like, when originally I was watching this game when I was originally playing this game and not thinking about the fact that there's, of course, going to be a third one because it's Star Wars. It has to be a trilogy. It's just like, is this how they explain having another really powerful Jedi running around? Is that he's been hiding in
Tanalorr.
On Tanalorr, which you still could do. Like, you still, like, it's wild. You could still have this, and literally in, like, episode 10 or 11, like, you could have Rey discover there's, like, a secondary Jedi temple that's been training dozens of Jedis, like, and you get your Cal Kestis, and
there could be several generations. I mean, maybe they're just like, we're safe. Let's just study the Force here because of some attributes we don't know yet about Tanalorr or whatever.
Yeah.
And and they're just there, and they're like, oh, hey. And she's like, I'm starting a new Jedi Order. And they're like, okay.
Well, okay, great. We got like 30 of us here. But you got what, 4? Cool.
Yeah. So the war's over? Like, who knows?
Yeah. Wait, you've had a second war? Wait, you've had 3 wars? What's going on?
Yeah. Final Order. How many orders were there?
Yeah. First you fought Thrawn, and then you had the Emperor again? I thought we already killed that guy.
But I mean, it's a loophole that I totally approve of, where it's just like, yes, you can stash all these amazing Jedi for cameos for later if you decide you want to play with them in your sandbox as a Star Wars storyteller. Like, you want to tell the Quinlan Voss story, like, that could be amazing.
I don't think you cast a person in a video game, and I mean, it is, I guess, well, no, it's not. Sorry, I'm like already like contradicting myself, but like, here's my thought. It's like, you don't make that person look camera exact to the actor playing that character without the thoughts of, we're going to, but we could pull this person into live action. He looks identical. Like, if you see him live in person, he's older.
It is cam on hand, yeah.
But isn't that great? Because if he's older, he needs to be older when you're going to pull him into live action, because you're going to pull them in later dates. Yeah.
I would geek out if we saw live action Cam in like Ahsoka or anything. A geek out.
Have you seen the ads with him? And we've talked about because you shared it with him, and there are multiple ads with him and Mark Hamill. I kept showing Carly those ads, my wife, who found them very amusing, but having never played the games, I'm like like, because it blows my mind of like, you have an actor who's now spent all his time with a video game, but like a legit actor who's also now like playing himself, doing the mocap for a game he's doing. It's kind of wild to think about where games have come, where it's just like this, like he's who could do comedic timing, like the scene where he's trying to explain. I can't remember when he's trying to do the word. Oh, Night Sister. You remember? Did you see the one where he's trying to explain what a Night Sister is to Mark Hamill?
Yes,
it's one of my favorite things that's ever in Star Wars to hear Mark Hamill be like, "What's a night sister?"
Yeah.
Why would he know? Yeah. Sorry. Anyway, moving on.
No, they're both super lovable, and I could definitely use more of them.
I mean, you guys are talking about video game characters going to live action. What if like the Thrawn brand synergy is just like so powerful that he just like appears in the next basically Jedi game, like, as maybe the only antagonist that can reach Tanalorr and being in a remote planet and all. But maybe he's the only person who can navigate out there and conquer that threat, get the data to the Emperor.
Just to be that guy on the timeline, it's a little crowded because I'm pretty sure the middle, trilogy of the Thrawn books, directly abuts Rebels, and then it goes straight into Rebels, and he's messing with Lothal. So
so he's focused on.
So there's no time for a Tanalorr story.
Maybe before that. So what happens before that is he's in between that little civil war between Moff Tarkin and Ben Mendelsohn. What's his name?
Krennic,
Director Krennic.
Yeah.
For what they're doing, and he's just. I mean, that doesn't sound like it covers more than a week.
But there hasn't been a Thrawn learns about the High Republic like story.
No, there hasn't, which he would love, right? Because it's all about like they have totally different art and like aesthetics. Like he would be obsessed with that. Yeah.
I mean, I'd love to see it. Nothing's impossible in Star Wars.
Also fascinating. Think about like the first game you got Saw Gerrera, you got like cameos by like major Star Wars people. In this, you do get your Vader cameo. I'm pretty sure that was the computerized James Earl Jones.
That new technology.
Yeah, I think this might have been one of the first uses of that, which sounded
good.
So good. It sounded really good. I mean, I know there's a big issue with AI right now. The writer's strike, but like
continues.
That was some great backstory too. They sort of like retconned the whole. They're like the Obi-Wan thing. They're like, yeah, don't worry, no, we rebuilt. We rebuilt that, and it's thriving. There's Inquisitors there now, and it's like, which we were wondering about in Obi-Wan. It's like, wait, didn't this thing get destroyed? But it got destroyed in 14 ABY.
Yes, they had like 4 years.
They had 4 years to rebuild it.
Yeah. It only took them like 2 years to build a whole new Death Star, so that's like nothing to build a fort. But so it's just fascinating. This game, apart from that, and maybe something in some side missions, you don't get any legacy character show up, right? Like they're really telling really straightforward stuff. So I wonder if the third game, like, I don't know, do you need to bring in a heavy hitter? I don't know if you off need the trilogy, or needs a good, not the right word, but
But I'd love it, and that's what the Path does. It's like the Path opens up. You could have random, amazing cameos in there, right? If you wanted to.
Yeah.
You could have Vader just lay waste to Tanalorr, as the intro.
So
because it is like the serene planet, and he's so contrasty with that it's like perfect almost. It's like exactly what you're almost like setting that up in a lot of ways. But
let me ask a question that would never occur to me, but except for a text that was exchanged today about Obi-Wan Kenobi and Grant's thoughts. So let's say the next game takes place like, I don't know, 1 or 2 ABY, and you're dealing with the Path, right? And it's right abutting up against
ABY.
No.
BBY.
BBY. Sorry. Year 2 or 1 BBY. So it's like a year or 2 before A New Hope. And let's say you're dealing with the Path, and let's say because you're dealing with the Path, you have to run across, I don't know, Obi-Wan Kenobi. Now, in this game, do you get a computerized alecguinness Obi-Wan Kenobi, or a computerized Ewan McGregor? because you're right up against like what do you so this whole I think because like do we get a computerized Alec-Guinness?
Yeah, I think we do because they went Alec-Guinness in Rebels, which happens about one BBY.
That's
BBY.
right. Yeah, you're right.
And they I forget which voice actor did his voice. That actually would be good to know.
Was it?
But they they did an animated Sir Alec-Guinness. And that was the most legendary scene from those things. But I think that's how they go. But that'd be interesting.
That would be truly magical in a game, honestly. And I think it's the only place you can get away with this. Like it's the only medium in which you could get away with an Alec-Guinness recreation, doing the voice as best as possible from a voice actor. Like in a Jedi game, like in a Jedi Survivor, Jedi Fallen Order title, like that would
of course I know him.
Spectacular. I would literally like I don't know, I'd probably play the game every year for the rest of my life if that if that moment was in there.
Yeah. Wild, man. I'm just so
That's
glad
my final thought on Jedi Survivor.
All right. I'm sure we can talk about it so much more. We're going to stop this thing and be like, oh yeah, 20 other things, but an hour and a half is probably enough to talk about video.
We need Give Me Guinness shirts with Alec Guinness's face on the back. Everyone will obviously misinterpret what that means, but
there may be a Galaxy's Edge trip, Core World News Galaxy's Edge trip ahead of us in the near future. Can we give us Guinness t-shirts printed
before then?
Also, name of the episode. Name of the episode is 100% Give Us Guinness.
That's right. We got the title.
Is like, can we get that printed before our trip?
Let's get a shirt.
That'd be right.
And then how do we pull in the Guinness
sponsorship
brand sponsorship, or at least
News is great. Their store
close enough, but not infringing on copyright.
Well, we will shill for Guinness if they want to go in there. I could use it right now.
Yeah, sure. That sounds delightful.
Yeah, man, this game's amazing, and like we talked about Fallen Order a billion times after we played that game, so I'm sure this will inform our future episodes.
There's some side mission stuff that I think we'll talk about in the coming weeks.
Yeah, I can't wait. I can't wait to just float around as like totally OP Jedi doing whatever I want, and maybe just dabbling in the dark side whenever I want to. When things get a little tough, it's like I'm gonna kill all you fools with the dark side.
Well, the problem is like
Jedi master.
Yeah, what?
So after the game, going back when you're trying to I keep encountering legendary like creatures, and it's starting to feel like Force Unleashed with having like that power. I'm just like I am slicing through. Like I got to a Force Tear. We had to kill 2 Rancors.
Oh yeah.
Oh yeah,
that should be tough.
Tear. Yeah.
It's not tough when you have that ability where I'm just like this seems silly.
It's gonna take me forever to clean out this game because it's like Koboh is giant. You just reminded me of a Rancor that I forgot to beat. Oh no, the Bogdo. I did beat that Rancor. I went back and beat that Rancor in the mine.
That Rancor, I so cheaply beat that thing. I'm so ashamed of how I killed that Rancor. I should not count because it won't follow you to a certain point. So I kept running back and just throwing my lightsaber at it and running back and throwing my lightsaber at it. It was so cheap. I am so ashamed of that win. I killed that thing and I'm like that sucks. That shouldn't count. Anyway.
Yeah, I fought that one.
I know.
There's an Bogdo in one of the garrisons, and I fought that too early too. And I was like, and it's like annoying your save point is like annoyingly far away. You have to like fight your way through 5 throngs of like enemies and then get to it.
It's rough. I need to go back there too. I know exactly what you're talking about. I haven't.
But I got some XP waiting for me. I think that. Oh, you know what else happened to me? I beat Dagan Gera. And then I took a wrong turn in a hallway and came up against a force of people, and I was like, what's going on? And then I died. But I can't get my XP from like all the stuff that I got there. It fell into the map.
Yes, that's happened to me 5 times where the XP has spawned in a place that's physically impossible for me to get to, and it's cheap and it bugs me. But game also, whatever this last update was, my game crashed 5 times last time I was playing it, and I'd have to like restart. Something happened with the last update that's infuriating. Anyway,
we could actually, I don't want to end this episode on bugs, but they're on consoles they aren't so bad, but there was a couple bugs. There was early in the game I had one where I couldn't switch lightsaber stances, And I just restarted it and it worked, but I was like, how many, like, I'm trying to learn mechanics here. So I'm trying to learn the physics of the game. It's like, I don't know if that works or not, or I feel like I'm not doing something or,
you were stuck in one stance, right?
Yeah.
Out of your two stances, you couldn't go to the other one. Yeah, I had these.
Yeah, same.
Oh, wow.
Yep, I had that happen to me too.
Okay.
Yeah. It was like universal. It seems like whatever that was. Yeah, it's super annoying.
But Dave the technician. So
Dave the technician.
It's whatever.
I mean, favorite character.
Oh, right.
Do you want to talk about it, Grant? Because I know it's your favorite.
No, I just had to just shout it out loud because we've talked this long and we haven't gotten to Dave the technician.
Oh, favorite character.
Audible laugh when I played the game and he appeared and the health appeared and he was like ready to do business and then I just sent him sliding.
The like giant hero bar shows up. It's like Dave the technician and it's like a scout trooper with a baton running at you down a hallway.
I killed him too fast to get the joke.
Yeah, he
that was the joke though.
So like no, I know, but literally.
Oh, Dave the door technician.
Mm-hmm.
That's right.
Dave the door technician.
Was it the door technician or elevator technician?
The door, I think.
But the health bar didn't fill up. Like I killed him before the health bar filled up. Right. So I'm like, wait, what happened? But then I was just like, I came back. It took me a second, but I was just like mowing down people so fast at that point that I'm like, oh, I get the joke now. But
I think as I was exploring, so I like came up the hallway and I was like, we were on opposite ends of a giant hallway, and then it was just like. Whoa, he's like, wearable, like whatever the dialogue is, and then it's like Dave the technician, and I'm like, where's the boss? And you just see him running at you, and I just like it worked out perfect because so I did the spear right as he arrived at me, I like speared him through the chest, and like all his energy disappeared, and he went flying, and that was the end of Dave the technician, and I was like, that's amazing.
Yeah. So I pieced it together because I don't know how I came across him because it wasn't the same where I came across him I was too close to him. I didn't get any of the dialogue.
Oh, wow.
And I killed him. And it's just like the thing appeared and then disappeared immediately saying like you killed or whatever. And so I'm like, oh, that's really funny because it's Dave, because it shows you Dave the door technician. So I'm like, that's amazing. But like, I felt like robbed of the full experience because I didn't come across him the right way.
Or like an orange vest though, to like kind of
like Matt the radar technician.
Matt the radar technician. Yeah.
Which is canon. I know. I actually wish they did a little different design for him, and then it's just like done.
He has like elevator crew on his arm or something. And it's like
that's a nice little moment of levity in a game that like didn't need to do that. That's clearly just they're super bored when they were developing.
I know. I feel like like one day it was like hour 18, and this guy's like, "Yo, check out what I just programmed," and isn't this hilarious? And they're like, "That's in the game."
Yeah, it's in the game. Yeah,
fighting B1s never gets old.
Never gets old.
Jedi Survivor.
Yeah,
it feels so good. Like butter. Your lightsaber just cuts through them like butter.
Yeah,
they're very lenient with the dismemberment. Like basically, you can cut them apart in every which way. Which is like, I wish there was like a butter knife mode in this game where it was like, it's like whatever the lightsaber touches, like you fight an ATST, you just like cut its leg and it just falls over basically. Why isn't the lightsaber just cut through objects?
Like everything
on contact.
I mean that would be an evolution of a game. Would just be like, you got a lightsaber, let's not make it so you have to cut someone 25 times. Like once is enough, honestly. Yeah, I don't know. It would be wild. It might be. It would be tough to balance, but it would be fun.
Because like the scout troopers are going toe to toe with you, like throughout the game, and it's. I'm like, no. And like, you do just.
I mean, they have energy weapons and whatever. Like, Finn had trouble with a guy with an energy weapon, right? And he had a lightsaber. True. I don't know.
But you're Finn, but he's not.
What about those like bounty hunters that come up with like there's like bounty hunters that Bedlam raiders that wield lightsabers in this game. Like,
you get some of them.
Oh yeah, I've had one of those.
Yeah,
there's like a couple of them, I think.
You'll run into more of them.
There's like more raiders that wield lightsabers. Yeah. I was like, is this a thing?
Especially
people just wield lightsabers? They must be like Nile.
A lot of the legendary things you fight have lightsabers, and just like, but I'll say like once you get the telekinesis, I did start feeling that way because like I'd run across like when I redid Coruscant and there was like 7 troopers, I just kept pulling one, stabbing, pulling another one, stabbing them. Like I just was just like really just like I felt really OP.
I know, and it's like I think you're fully dark side. Like I mean, in reality, you should be using the orange lightsaber the whole time because you're a dark side. I mean, a Jedi Obi-Wan Kenobi would not shish kebab 24 troopers. unless his like life was
methodically
being threatened or the life of his loved ones,
right.
you know, like Tala or whatever. You know, it was like he went into like mowing down stormtrooper mode. Like as soon as her life was threatened and like killed, that's when he started just like, dispassionately murdering stormtroopers. But the whole game, it's a little like, no, this is not how a Jedi. Okay,
it's so fun, but it's a limitation of the medium, right? Yeah. Like of just, it's a video game. So you have to have those elements, but as I'm playing it, it's really breaking this. I'm like, I'm not even close to the light side.
Yeah, not even close.
When I'm playing this game.
No, you're killing everything. Even like droids. It's like, I want to kill a droid, but it's like he does mow through droids too.
I know. I just laugh at every time he's just like, no, don't turn bad. Please come back to good. And I'm like, I
killed so many
straight up murdered 78 people coming to get you. And now I'm suddenly like, no, come back to the light.
Yeah.
No,
I think
it's
the blame is
that's why maybe if you haven't played the game, just watch the cutscenes. It'll probably actually be a clear story than if you watch gameplay and then watch the cutscenes.
It also doesn't feel like the ultimate sort of Jedi experience during the reign of the Empire, because for me, after watching like the Obi-Wan series, that to me is a pretty altruistic Jedi disposition, sort of like stay hidden.
Altruistic.
Don't get into conflict. You know what I mean? Like, and to me, I'm like, I almost want the game where I'm a Jedi, just sort of like navigating the galaxy, but keeping to my own business and sort of like staying low key and talking to lots of NPCs and having this really fun sort of quest across the galaxy, but like. And again, I guess drawing the lightsaber when need be, but like it's more about dialogue options. It's more about staying hidden. Like it's almost like I'm almost looking for like a stealth-based third-person action adventure game. That's very.
I would love that. I would love like you win if you stay light side
heavy and sort of like building your home. You're basically hermit hut. Like I want a moisture evaporator, or hermit hut, and just sort of self-sustaining somewhere in the galaxy, and then I have to travel around the galaxy to, I guess, learn information about the path or whatever it may be.
Grant, you're 100% right. I feel like if there's going to be like a true game that takes place in this era, like the only way you can win it is through
discipline,
stealth technique, mind tricks. Yeah. Like all of these things, and like, you know what, this is an argument. I don't think we played there's only one game stinger since we're just covering this, which is fine. But like this is another argument for multiple games, multiple levels, because there should be that game. Like there should be that game. That
and then maybe in all the bad
zero combat game.
In all the bad things that you do, that you hear the shrills at night. Like basically you dismember someone, you disarm someone. Like the cantina scene, and like you hear that shrill later in your sleep. Like the game is like about like the dark choices you make haunt you, and so like you try not to make them, essentially. Like that to me, that's like the game I want in this time period.
So who is making? So there's that game that's never gonna come out. What's that game?
The Ubisoft game, the Eclipse.
No, not the Ubisoft. Giant. The Eclipse game. That's never gonna happen. But that Eclipse game, right? So I know that studio is
Square Enix.
Is
that it? No.
No, it's not Square Enix. There's people that like Heavy Rain. Remember that like I can't remember the name of that studio. It begins with a Q, I think, but it is mired.
Quantic Dream or something.
Quantic Dream. Is that what it is? It is mired with issues. So I'm not trying to hold
controversy that the creative executive is like a monster.
A monster. So I'm not trying to hold them to a higher standard. But
Quantic Dream.
The game Heavy Rain. Quantic Dream, well done. The game Heavy Rain, which is like, there's also a really problematic scene in that game, which go ahead and look at it, but whatever. But like that game, it's all about it's choices, and there's no combat, and it is a really creative way to tell a story. And you could do a game with a Jedi in hiding that does that, right? That is just being an investigator, trying to discover, you can even do it as a path game of trying to figure out how to find this force sensitive. Right, and get them away. Anyway, I agree, Grant. I think they need a game like that, because that feels more honest.
And like what you guys are talking about, you want to overhear the sort of like the scout trooper dialogue or like the just the enemy dialogue, and like there's even moments in this game where you are changing attire to blend in and doing the whole like sort of like costume change, like your Hitman games or your Assassin's Creeds or your, like Hitman, all these kind of really fun third person stealth games. And I also like, I know it's a Hitman mechanic, but the sort of like, you could look the other way and NPCs wouldn't be able to ID you. And like after watching Obi-Wan, I was like, that's exactly what a Jedi needs to do. Is basically their temple records are out there. The Empire has them. They can find you. They know your chain code or whatever. And like, you've got to stay hidden. You know, it's like Minority Report. Like to me, that's fascinating. I was like,
if you want a pure combat game, you need to go into the Old Republic. Like it that seems where it's free and clear, right? Because you have multiple Jedi, multiple Sith. Like that's when you can just go.
I mean, yeah, like ideally the Jedi Sith Wars would be amazing because then you're doing it.
Yeah. Or High Republic where you're just like
you're just not fighting any Darksiders, but you could, which Jedi, I guess you're not. But I mean, but you could fight Nile.
You could kill Nile all day, I guess. But I have no. I need to complete all the High Republic. I'd have no idea where they're going with this right now and what they're trying to do, and so
Actually, you do, because now we're in the prequel, the before times.
So speaking of which,
let's talk about next week. Adam, take it away.
All right. So next week we're going to revisit or come back to the High Republic. We're a little bit behind on the novels, but we like to give you all a chance to read them. So we're going to cover 2 books next week. We're going to talk about Cataclysm, which is kind of the main run. They call it the novel, which is the adult, and then the Quest for Planet X, which is the junior novel. Those came out about a month ago, so we're gonna go over.
Who's the author of Cataclysm? I've just bought it.
Lydia Kang is the author.
Yeah.
Great. Looking forward to her writing. I don't know that we've had any of Lydia Kang's work yet.
Don't believe so. Maybe in one. I'll have to double check. Probably in a From a Certain Point of View. Because I feel like everyone that we've encountered. But in terms of like novel, no. I mean, we'll talk about it more next week. I'm about 10% of the way in. I know, Grant, you're further along, but so far liking it. So far enjoying it.
It's good. Euron and Iranos
dragging on.
That's still the gripping premise that I'm supposed to be just.
I mean, we'll talk about more. I may not be I am not the biggest fan of necessarily the overarching plot, but I'm enjoying.
I like the atmosphere of this book.
That's what I was gonna say. I'm enjoying the writing. I'm drawn into it more. I feel
picture of like
world building,
galaxy in a beautiful way, and I'm a huge like lore world building.
But I am right there with you.
You get a lot of that.
Yeah, the Iranos stuff. All right, I'm like whatever. But we'll talk more.
Yes, we will. So until then, thanks everyone for listening to us. I hope you're enjoying Jedi Survivor. If you're playing it, if you're not, pick it up sometime and mess with it. It is so great. Exactly. We're stoked on recording again next week, and I can't wait to get back in the High Republic, get my head there, and it'll be great. So thanks very much for listening to us. We greatly appreciate it. Have a marvelous week, and may the Force be with you.
This is Grex Kondak signing off. For the latest breaking news, follow @CoreWorldNews on Twitter and Instagram. Thank you, and good night.
Remember, the Force will be with you, always.